Did you know that August is National Wellness Month?
I do. My daughter's big on it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The gymnast.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, listen, to focus on your wellness, we need to prioritize taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, for some of us, that's the hardest person to take care of, right?
Right. It could be because you're used to taking care of other people. Maybe you're a people pleaser. Either way, it's taking a toll on our overall wellness. And here to help us take control of our wellness is friend of the show and psychotherapist Olivia Verhulst. It's always great to see you.
Hi, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
So we like to ask Olivia, what's happening with in your business, with your practice? And you said this has been coming up with your patients time again. So clearly, we've hit a pressure point.
Yeah, yeah, it is very common, the struggle of putting others before ourselves. You can imagine it shows up in the therapy room a lot. And it comes from a lot of different places. So there's a realm of different underlying factors. One, presenting issue can be codependency, where maybe people feel a strong need to be needed. And it results in deprioritizing themselves. Another might be because hyper-focusing on other people's issues helps us to avoid some of our own stuff going on. And then there's also this idea that maybe we derive great significance from being there for others, and it's part of our identity formation. And lastly, but not least, people-pleasing, where we are going to great lengths to put other people's needs before our own.
Right.
Yeah, people-pleasing tendencies. For those of us that do that, what are we getting out of it?
Yeah, so I will start off with, it can absolutely be an altruistic, wonderful quality to want to help others, but when it comes to people-pleasing at the expense of ourselves, it can be fueled by a sense of fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, and other insecurities, all centered around this idea that I'm going to please you in order for me to feel safe, because if I stop pleasing others, I run the risk of potentially being unloved, abandoned, rejected, or not important. And that can come from earlier
Of course. We're both going like this because we both know people, and I'm sure at some point in my life I've been a people pleaser. But what do you tell your patients? We'll give you the copay at the end of this, on how to take care of ourselves first. I always think of what they say on airplanes, in case the air pressure changes, do yourself first and then the person next to you.
And you said something so important. It is by no means an abnormal sense of urgency to have to want to please others. It is a survival strategy sometimes. It's normal for all of us. But when it becomes too problematic, we want to focus on acceptance that we are not responsible for other people's happiness, and that we can't fundamentally please everybody. Boundaries and saying no, which I recommend starting small with, like giving yourself a challenge each week to say no to one more thing that would normally make you uncomfortable. And you gave a great tip last segment that we did. I don't know if you remember this, but it is expanding the time between getting a request and immediately answering and saying yes. So you said your therapist says, just stand there for a moment.
Yeah, don't do anything, just stand there. Yeah.
Amazing. Taking it from his book.
That's right. That's right.
So saying no to things and to people, right? What are some reminders you would give people who struggle with this?
I'd share that first and foremost, you do not exist on this earth to primarily serve others. That's important. And actually, it could be potentially hurting your relationships more than you think than helping them to keep yesing people, because resentment is building. Who wants that in their relationships? It's just eroding the foundation of the relationship behind the scenes. And lastly, I would say, when you start pleasing yourself more, it would be normal for it to feel unfamiliar and some discomfort, but try not to get that translated to wrong.
Right.
Feel the guilt and do it anyway.
Right. Feel the guilt and do it anyway.
Yeah.
I like
It's
that.
also easy as parents to say, no, I'll do this. I know I got this. You have a daughter that's already in college. I have a kid that's about to go to college. And I was already thinking, okay, I'm going to pack his this and I'm going to pack his that. To which you're like, no, ma'am. Let him pack.
Yeah, if they can. Yeah, start small.
He's able-bodied. All of his limbs work. He has a brain. He can.
Give him a chance.
The colleges, why can't you?
Yeah.
But you know what? That's key. Give him a chance.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we kind of should use when we're saying, all right, we're going to set a boundary, we're going to say no, and give the other person a chance to adapt to what we're doing.
Absolutely. Well said.
All right, the copay is coming at 10:57. Olivia Verhulst, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.